Good evening, everyone. How you feeling? Pretty good? Awesome. Yes, welcome to Beyond Baroque. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater. My name is Ivan Salinas. I'm Programs Manager here at this beautiful, historic organization. Thank you. I'd like to start by acknowledging our presence on unceded territory. We stand in solidarity with Indigenous, Tongva, Tataviam, Chumash peoples who've endured colonialism and displacement. We stand against genocide and are committed to provide a space for Indigenous artists and communities as they are the original stewards of this land. Beyond Baroque is a place dedicated to the possibilities of language, founded in 1968 by George Trudy Smith. First began as an experimental literary magazine and evolved into the interdisciplinary art space it is today. This building first served as the original Venice City Hall, but since the late 70s, it has been a space for artists and writers. This was the old City Hall in our neighbors, Spark, which is the Social, Public, and Art Resource Center, led by Judy Baca. Was an old jail cell, but we are reclaiming these spaces as a home for artists. So it's a privilege to be here, and hope it continues as that for 5 more centuries, 10 more centuries, till an earthquake takes us. But you can learn more about our organization, which is now 57 years old, through our website. We continue to offer our free Monday night fiction workshops and our Wednesday night poetry workshops. Both of those happen weekly virtually on Zoom, and participants are allowed to develop their individual pieces with a group of participants. The Monday night fiction workshop is led by Raquel Baker, and the Wednesday night poetry workshop is led by Jose Hernandez Diaz. And it's a rotation of facilitators, but that's who is currently leading those workshops. And coming up on October 3rd, New Yorker poetry editor Kevin Young will be reading from his new collection, Night Watch. He will be here in the space in conversation with Lynn Thompson. What's so funny? No bullying. On October 4th, we are presenting a special documentary screening and conversation on Chicano poet Raul R. Salinas. It will be an evening of poetry and liberation with Floricanto, featuring poets from LA and the Bay Area like Josiah Luis Alderete, Soledad con Carne, as well as former LA poet laureate Luis J. Rodriguez. On October 11th, we will be having a new exhibition focused on portraits of the late Charles Bukowski. Photographer Joan Gani will be in conversation with Mike Sonskin to talk about this exclusive set of portraits that we will be showing for the first time in the US. And their exhibition will run from October all the way to December. We'll be having a few programs all focused on this poet who is the beloved dirty old man of poetry and stuff. So, you can have your opinions about him, come discuss in community with us. So. We're also having a workshop in partnership with the International Writing Program at the Iowa Writers Workshop. Manuel Becerra, a writer from Mexico City, is facilitating a workshop titled Please Cross the Line. If you're a bilingual writer, especially English and Spanish, this is a workshop for you, and you can be an auditor, which means you can listen in, but not necessarily be a participant. But if you are a participant, of course, that option is there for you. And you can sign up online if you want to know more about it. And yeah, I encourage everyone to keep up with our upcoming programming through our newsletter. You can sign up on your way out or just visit our website and you'll find the link there. Thanks to your support, we've been here for 57 years and we hope for another more round of a century. So it is all thanks to your support, and we'd like to also invite you to become a member. Memberships start at $75. There is discount for students, which start at $35. It grants you free access to most of our events for an entire year and gives you perks to discounted merch from the bookstore. And from time to time, we have appreciation events and perks for our members who, keep the lifeline of this place alive. So, lastly, I want to thank our team. That is Eric Alberg in the booth, who's our technical director. A round of applause to him. Sets up this beautiful space, as well as our bookseller, Genesis Perez, director, Jimmy Vega, and our team, Rhiannon, Zoe, our new fellow, Barbara Fant, who are, part of this team, and it's an honor to be working alongside them. But tonight we have a new edition of this collaboration of the Golden Mean between the University of Southern California's Creative Writing PhD program and Beyond Baroque. It has been curated and hosted by Liz Johsnon, but Liz is living in Dallas currently, and if you're tuning in online, camera's right there, so thank you, Liz, for all your work. Greetings from the West Coast. And it's a really devotion to have this gathering of poets, and want to thank you, but also thank our new host for this evening, who is Matthew Gellman. And Matthew will be bringing us home. He's a magnificent poet, too, and we had the honor of hosting him alongside Mark Irwin and Rick Badeau. I think that's his last name. But Matthew was reading from his first collection, Beforelight. And I think we'll be getting a snippet of forthcoming collection, which is The Understudy. And it's set to come out in 2027 by Four-Way Books. Yeah. So save the applause. Hold on. Just so you know, a few more fun facts about Matthew. The book I mentioned was winner of BOA Editions Award. Matthew has received fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, Brooklyn Poets, Adroit's Jankian Scholars Program, and a few others. His poems have appeared in Bennington Review, Gulf Coast, Prairie Schooner, a few other very notable publications like the Lambda Literary's Poetry Spotlight. He is currently a PhD candidate in literature and creative writing at the University of Southern California. So USC is in the house and beyond. All right, let's give a round of applause to Matthew Gellman. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So excited. Okay, can you all hear me? This is good? Yeah. So loud? So good. Okay, so good. I'm glad we're so good. Thank you guys for being here tonight. So excited to be hosting the Golden Mean, to be taking over what Liz did a beautiful job starting. Hi, Liz. I'm like talking like she's in heaven and not just like in Dallas. I'm like, if you're up there. But Liz is such an amazing community builder, and she's such an initiator. And I think we need people like that more than ever in the poetry world. So she deserves a lot of credit. And I think she started a beautiful collaboration here. So thank you, Liz. And thank you for also asking me to continue it and keep bringing LA poets together. This is really cool. I took a beta blocker just for this, so I hope that makes you guys feel special. And this is exciting. So I'm just gonna read a couple of my newer poems. So these are from the next book that's coming out in 2027. I'm just gonna read two. I was trying to find like kind of fun, hosty poems that like set the mood and that are like full of levity. I don't have any. So I was just like, I'm coming up empty, I don't know. But I'll just read these two and then we can move on. This first one is called Voice Lesson. My parents hired a voice coach to correct my abnormalities. The S a little sharp, my vowels prairie wide. I sounded, like that. In her half-moon glasses, she looked at me like a kindly owl from a children's show who always knows the answer and delivers it with grace. She must have known that somewhere another self waited for me to enter it. On the hushed side of the Sierras I saw in my geography textbook, maybe. And how I'd stand under muffled street lamps in the chalky morning in a city with faulty balconies and the heat of whiskey in everyone's eye, with men whose names I'd forget a few months after we put our hands in our pockets and turned to walk down the street, looked back, blinked once, and kept walking. Looking back, I don't blame my parents. Who wants to picture their child under slate skies, befriending the grass at recess instead of the kids in his class? Still, I'm grateful for that wide-eyed woman who said, I could listen to you talk all day, then let the door click shut behind her. No second appointment needed. Yeah. This next one is called Conflation. I'm excited about this. It's coming out in Poem a Day in like 2 weeks, so that's cool. Yeah, and I've never really read it. I don't think so. This will be test run. Thank you for being my guinea pigs. Conflation. I forget where some of their fingers started, how softly some of them ended. But I remember, in particular, the fingers of one man. We tumbled in simmering grass, and he hooked all 5 behind my bottom teeth, then further in, like he was trying to drag a lake. Under the rustling sky of a Pennsylvania I won't see again, his shadow was much larger than mine, wasn't it? In the orchards, pale green fruits were starting to ripen, lush as petals, which is a way of saying easily pierced. Love is not like water I can see the bottom of. It's a mountain's crags I climb, searching for a vantage point. I recall what I've let go slack in my palms, the way he bit his lip, then mine, how in the best photographs of horses, all of their legs hit the air at once. The bark of a dog in the distance is a rusted door as it closes. The gray of the sky outside becomes the gray of the sky inside. I forget where some of their fingers started, how softly some of them ended. I light a cigarette and sip my tea. The smoke mingles with the steam. Okay. Whew. All right, so that's that. And without further ado, let's get to this lineup. This is such an insane lineup. I'm so excited to have these poets here. Such a beautiful list. Liz did an amazing job. And just so that you guys know, I feel like it's horrible to not know when you're reading, right? So I'll just go through the order that we have. So first is going to be T Bambrick, then Eduardo Martínez-Leyva, then Katheleen Maris Paltrineri, and then we have Douglas Manuel and Nathan Xavier Osorio. Okay? Cool. No one's like mad about that, right? Okay, we can like talk about it later. What's done is done. So first we have T Bambrick, who I'm so excited to introduce. T Bambrick is the author of Intimacies Received, Copper Canyon 2022, and Vantage, which won the Honickman First Book Award in 2019 through the American Poetry Review. No big deal. Their work can be found in The New Yorker, The Nation, American Poetry Review, and elsewhere. A 2020 Wallace Stegner Fellow, they have received fellowships from the Sewanee Writers Conference, Community of Writers, Vermont Studio Center, the Key West Literary Seminar, as well as scholarships from the Loaf Writers Conference and the Loaf Environmental Writers Conference. Just doing it all, girl. She lives in LA and is a Dornsife Fellow in the Creative Writing PhD program at the University of Southern California. All right.
You're so tall and handsome. Sorry. Hi, thank you all for being here. I'm so excited. Beyond Baroque is my favorite place to read in LA. They're amazing. They were one of the first organizations I saw affiliated with literature that, called the Genocide a Genocide in Gaza, that have been there for, people in LA through ice raids, through the fires, and I just love this place so much. So I'm really happy you're all here, and I'm so happy to be here again. Matt is just the best. Since you moved to LA, I've been less lonely, and my heart has been so full, so I'm really happy to be here with you as our host tonight. And yeah, so much I could say. I'm really excited to be with Eduardo, Kathleen, Nathan, and Douglas. Raise your hand if you're one of Douglas's students. I think this is really special. Look at how many people came. It's so cute. Okay, sorry. I just think that's really special. It makes me emotional. So I'm reading, my first poem is about a conversation with one of my students, and I think that, teacher-student dynamics are one of the most beautiful things in the world. I had this student who I kept telling them, oh, you have a lot of gerunds in your poem. And this is something people always said to me when I was in school. I guess I'm still in school, but when I was in school before now, I always have the words that end in ing. I just can't get them out of my poems. I love ings. And so I kind of forced that out of my writing. And I said this to my student, and they were like, why? Why can't we have gerunds in our poems? And I realized that I was just re-saying this thing that I didn't really understand that came from a history of the way that we teach poetry. And so the student and I challenged each other to write a poem with as many gerunds as possible. And the only other context you need is I wrote this when I was at a residency, and everyone was trying really hard to work on their poems, and I was trying really hard to make people hang out with me because I didn't want to write my poems. So this poem emerged from those two things. Gerunds for you. Trying not to doing wall sits in the poetry room. Trying not to sucking spring honey off a cold spoon. Trying not to following the blue blazes on the pine trees. Trying, hoping the other deer are being sweet to the one with diarrhea. Trying not to, forgetting how to spell diarrhea at age 32. Trying not to for a mile with my thumb bruising a bright red leaf. Watching a video of a skunk sucking the stragglers off the bearding bees, I am trying. Not to exhausting the visual artists with my long personality. Not to crunching one palm with a hand of fingers when I speak. Trying not to. I'm trying caving in on what I eat and not what I do. Will you tell me, what did I do? Trying not to, bending to holding my own calves like stakes to talk to. I'm trying not to want to, trying to befriend the painter who, when I saw the star shoot and she didn't, said, the wish was meant for you. Trying not to, loving the student who writes ing, 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 breaking the old rule about space and simplicity, wanting verbs who function as nouns with more to do, like loving longly, like longing not to. Thank you. I also forgot to say these are all from a brand new poetry collection that I feel really scared reading because it's also the first time that I'm really reading them out loud. So thanks for hearing them, letting me know if they land or not. Okay, so I'm in school, I'm in grad school, and the third year of our program at USC, we have to take a bunch of exams and teach at the same time. And so I got really anxious during that time period, and I got really obsessed with slime, like jars of slime, like buying slime and playing with it and giving it to people. No one wanted it, and just slime. I was like, this is who I am now. I emailed a slime company and asked if I could work for them, and they said no. And so I wrote this poem. It's called "The Year I Loved Slime." So embarrassing. Okay. The year I loved slime, there were bone-shaped benches at the dog park. Two brothers on 1,000 Steps Beach slapping a toilet out of sand. A hummingbird tucked her nest on an orange tree branch using our cat's soft belly fluff. The Floridian man who posted about his hunt for the 20-foot anaconda in the Everglades did not answer my DM asking if he'd killed hundreds of snakes. I could not pay off my debts. I lost $10 on a Feet Finder membership after surrendering 2 images of my toes stacked near the rest of me on a bed in red underwear alone. It rained more than it had ever rained in California. The Joshua trees sprouted white cheese flowers. I fell in love and skunks swarmed my house. I suspected a parasite lived in my body. I threw up straight at a wall. I didn't believe in anxiety, just the spiders I must have swallowed. I could not own a dog, was broken up with by one long-term friend. On Feet Finder, I was surpassed by the femmes with consistent voices. Somewhere a woman crushes whole bananas between her toes. I wasn't interested in knowing myself, so I didn't write. I spent $80 on slime, jars of themed blobs, one full of toy mirrors that hurt to squish. It's called Reflections 666. The longer you play, the less you can see through it. Thanks. My slime poem. There's another Lucy is here, who's another slime lover, writes a lot of beautiful poems about moss. Maybe we'll be reading it this very series soon, so stay tuned. Okay, I feel like this is the saddest poem I'm gonna read. Something I've been thinking about a lot and I haven't really talked about in person or at readings is, before I moved to LA, I was roofied, and I'm okay, but it was like a really dramatic experience that made the first year of this program really difficult for me. And so part of what I was dealing with was like, what do you do in that situation? No one wants to talk about it. It's just a really difficult experience. And there aren't a lot of systems in place to protect other people. I don't know the person's name. So I wrote this poem kind of like imagining what I would say if I could ever talk to that person again. For the person who drugged me, I hope that the bougainvillea still funnels under the fence into your street. Fuchsia bracts you can see through, thousands of the undersides of beaks, like cutting crescents out of a watercolor of a cloth drenched in wine. A heart-shaped vintage cake with 5 cherries and jam inside. The beauty of aerosols, scattering sunlight. A hand sculpted from clay, thick with Klamath sand. The red bar on your daughter's wooden instrument, love, the mallet, the lower pitch, to peel an entire fruit with a single spin, the 13 seconds it takes for blood to move from the arm through the heart to the mouth again. I hope you remember me. I can't remember what you did. Thank you. I'll read one more poem that I think of as my funny poem, but what poems are funny ever? Okay, so last year on Halloween, I went to therapy on Zoom, and I opened a Zoom, and my therapist was dressed as a minion. And that's all you need to know to understand where this poem came from. My therapist dressed as a minion. You can buy the goggles online marked as steampunk mad scientist, she says. The costume wasn't hard to assemble. Banana yellow sweater and beanie, jean overalls. She snaps the goggles over her eyes to make me laugh, then sets them off screen where I imagine a wooden table. She has 2 jobs now. We meet on her lunch break from the bigger one. We start with a statement I made about myself inside a worst memory. I am alone. There is no one here for me. You're meant to tap your hands on your knees, close your eyes, and remember that sentence until it bursts untrue. All I'm thinking about is the minion costume, what minions are asked to do. A minion can be cracked and shaken to glow a green light, cannot complain about working conditions or earn a raise. They serve villains but thrive in community. It's Halloween today. Is this costume her showcase for the conditions of therapy? I have made it hard to be here for me. These 3 years, one planet that shines like glue. There are things I should not laugh at that I have to. The 3-fingered gloved hand paused on her human heart, or that there were seconds, full days where I believed that love was a resource and I'd squandered my part. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. I think we need to rename the series The Golden Slime. That was so good. Wow. Thank you so much, Sheet. That was dynamite. Next, we have Eduardo Martínez-Leyva, born in El Paso, Texas, to Mexican immigrants. He is the author of Cowboy Park, winner of the 2024 Felix Pollock Prize in Poetry from the University of Wisconsin Press. Unbelievable, congrats. His work appears in Poetry Magazine, The Adroit Journal, Narrative, The Slowdown, The Hopkins Review, Best New Poets, and honestly so many other places. He has received fellowships from Canto Mundo, The Frost Place, Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown, Lambda Literary, and Columbia, where he earned his MFA. He was a 2024 Get the Word Out Publicity Incubator participant with Poets and Writers, and has served as writer-in-residence at St. Albans School for Boys in Washington, D.C. All right, let's hear it.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So I always preface this by saying that I tend to write really sad poems, so I apologize in advance. Sadness is my brand. But thank you so much, folks, for being here. It's been a dream to be at Beyond Baroque, so thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Liz. And so we'll get started. When I was away to residency, I kind of gave myself an assignment of writing portrait poems inspired by folks that I grew up around. I'm from the US-Mexico border, and so this is one of them. It's called Portrait of Aging Father. Loose teeth, a small bout of depression. I can't imagine your heart as anything but a fist. No one to hold you back. You drank. The neighborhood, the city, even the perfume bottles, father of insulin and bad words. Dipping dead scorpions in bleach, you then set them ablaze to prevent infestation. Saved the stingers. What else did you keep? Father of failed child support payments. Born into the business of suffering, you said. Not blonde. Superstitious, one glass eye. When you call, you do it anonymously, father of syringe and black coffee. You once tried to remove your tonsils with rusted pliers. The only gun you held was aimed at your head, father of fists and minimum wage. Once you begged for my tongue to dream in another language. Soon you will be a ghost without enough to haunt. I help button your coats and shirt sleeves, buckle your seatbelt. I place your hand on the inside of my elbow when guiding you through places you deem too dark. Now, I'm just a blurred blemish you can barely see. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, some of my poems, so I guess I go from sad to sort of a little bit salacious. And so we'll maybe read one that's sort of in that vein. This one's called Portrait of a Boy on the Other Side of a Glory Hole. Most wounds are circles, so it's no surprise you'll find me here, alone, on my knees, on evenings when the moon hangs low. The brown boy behind the hole, not quite the size of a cave or a cigarette burn, splitting open my lips the way a saint parts his mouth to banish thirst or famine or to corral his flock. I have stories and sadness to share, have known men who moan like injured dogs, others like horses off to the glue factory, their dignified shape reduced by the deep vermilion of my rim. I used to be scared. Eyes locked on the ceiling, my trembling voice wrapped around their hard-ons. They only feel me through the hollow they occupy briefly. I am all mouth, cavities and throat, obedient, never see, never touch. Some call for Jesus as if that were my name. I have lost so much around here. So I was the translator by default in my family. And I have 3 older brothers, and the other brother who's also fluent in English, he's an alcoholic, and so he would tend to disappear when I was young, and as a result, I was sort of the one to go out and fetch him, especially like going across the border. So there were times where he would disappear for days, months, and there was a time where we didn't know if he was still alive. And so again, my task was to translate and sort of be in front of these authority figures at a very young age. So this poem's inspired by that. It's called Don't Look Back, Little Halo. The officer misspells your brother's name and you correct him. It's like angel but with an O. He doesn't listen. Mom doesn't care, and before repeating yourself, she squeezes your arm, whispers, no digas nada, así pensarán que es gringo. You understand. They'll look for him faster that way if they think he's white, American. You're used to this type of amputation of mistranslation, having been a contortionist most of your life. Tear up your name to make it easier on yourself. It isn't shame, but maybe a smudge of it lingers. Think of those times you flicked away accents and diphthongs on certificates and birthday cakes. Or when a man turned down a second date because he couldn't say your name correctly. Or the friend who asks for your advice on naming her unborn son something palatable, so that if he ever goes missing, like your brother, he can come back to her unscathed, complete, whole as the halo you are told to truncate, whole as the circle or letter at the end of Angelo's name, as the shape of a mother's mouth howling in laughter or distress. So I'll read maybe 3 more. This one, just some things you need to know. So when I was younger, again, I would sort of finish my homework at home and finish my homework at school and then get home and help my mom with her citizenship exam. And so this poem is inspired by that. There's a phrase that's give me liberty or give me death, which was from Patrick Henry, and it was a line that my mom had to memorize in order to pass her citizenship, one of many that she had to memorize in order to pass her citizenship exam. Until this day, she can tell you that it is Patrick Henry who said that quote. And then the other line is was popularized by Porfirio Díaz, and it's Pobre de México tan lejos de Dios y tan cerca de los Estados Unidos, which translates to Poor Mexico, so far from God and so close to the United States. So this one's called Portrait of My Mother Studying for Her Citizenship Exam. She sits on the corner of her bed, head tilted to one side, licks the tip of her thumb and flips through the thick booklet, trying to remember where we left off. 2 weeks ago, the mint-colored Bronco parked in the neighbor's driveway, the youngest one left in handcuffs, and they haven't heard from her since. Mother sighs, Pobre de Dios, tan lejos de... Pobre de México, tan lejos de Dios y tan cerca de los Estados Unidos. I am 10, and so far away from God, I feel. Angelo and I take turns teaching her, tracking English like dirt into our home, the only savior they tell us we need. If only it could be that simple and true, to build her a life out of mud and syllables of saliva, colonies and state capitals, treaties and phrases coined during a long ago war, written in textbook pretty cursive, give me liberty or give me death, she repeats. Even the birds' names she has to learn. And after all those evenings rehearsing and memorizing the mythology of it, no one could prepare her for the early morning raid, the strip searches at the border, the child who gets deported. If you ask me, it's hard to believe in God, especially when years later she's still forced to dodge slurs and bullets from a white man who aims a gun at her at the supermarket. Give me liberty or give me death. But for now, she'll settle at the corner of her bed, skimming through lines and sentences, narrowing her eyes as her fingers move to the following page, mouthing out words, unfolding a wrinkled map she smooths open with her hands, pausing before using her index finger to trace the dotted lines. She pores over the text for hours and hours, focused, determined, always pensive and gentle, careful but intentional, like when combing for ticks on the head of her firstborn son. So, thank you. I'll read maybe two more. So in 2019, my mom survived a mass shooting that happened in a Walmart because of sort of this like BIPOC immigrant rhetoric that seems to be a thing that continues to happen. And so again, being sort of the translator and the fixer of the family, it was sort of a lot of pressure for me during that time. And so while I was away at a residency, I started to write these poems that were about that. There was a lot of tension and conflict around it because I wasn't sure if it was something that I should be writing about. So this is one of those poems. It's called After the Shooting, You Have a Panic Attack in the Supermarket. And it references the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I used to live in DC, but it wasn't the one that collapsed a few years ago. This is the bridge that connects DC to Northern Virginia, which was the bridge I would take to get my groceries. After the shooting, you have a panic attack in the supermarket. On a Sunday morning, you drive across Francis Scott Key Bridge, mindful of cyclists and joggers, the tourists blocking the sun from their eyes to catch a glimpse of the imperious monument looming over everyone, another stone god they've come to worship. But you're here because you're hungry. Stuff your cart with spreads and fancy cheeses that in another life you could never afford. Walk through the shiny, polished aisles, greeting others with a nod or a short, quick smirk. You feel warmth around their eyes. Open the carton of eggs to examine each one, looking for cracks, checking the expiration dates, when all of a sudden you think, was this how it was? Was this how it happened? A moment so boring, you're already thinking of the next boring moment and the one after that. Is this it? Lifting and tapping a cantaloupe, looking for black welting spots on an heirloom tomato, thinking of the week's lunch or lesson you haven't yet planned, picturing your students on Monday morning staring into the whiteboard's clean, blank face, waiting, remembering all those times you hushed their panic during lockdown drills as you shoved your heads underneath desks and tables. You thought yourself ready. Is it this? Funny how life happens. No, funny how life needs death for it to happen, be compared to, valued. But you knew this already. Coming in from the parking lot, barely missing that red light, you knew. Just as elsewhere, someone is slipping their feet into a new pair of shoes while parents set the table for breakfast. Sisters get ready to sell raffle tickets, and brothers forget to heave their hearts to their throats before getting into their cars, rushing for a carton of milk they meant to buy earlier that week. They knew too, you hope, every one of them. Thank you, folks.
All right. Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Eddie. Also, books are going to be in the bookstore after this, so if you want to buy Cowboy Park or honestly any of the other books that we're hearing from tonight, definitely do. That was gorgeous. So next up, we have a living angel, Katheleen Maris Paltrineri. And Kathleen is a dear friend, but also a poet and translator from Iowa. And the recipient of a Fulbright Fellowship, exactly, and the recipient of a Fulbright Fellowship to Norway. Her translation of Norwegian poet Kristin Berget, yeah, okay. And When the Light Comes, It Will Be So Fantastic which came out from Northwestern University Press in 2025 over the summer, is supported by a Stanley Award for International Research and by Norla, Norwegian Literature Abroad. For her poetry, Paltrineri has received support from the Arctic Circle Residency, Sewanee Writers Conference, and Gentel Artist Residency. Her poems have recently appeared in Spoon River, Poetry Review, Bone Bouquet, and Bennington Review, among other places. And give it up for Kathleen.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Matt. I'm really so honored to be here. I'm in awe of the poets who've read so far, and I'm excited to hear the rest of us tonight. And I'm just really grateful to be a part of this beautiful community. It's kind of wild to catapult yourself to a new place, and I felt so entirely welcomed here. So thank you. I'm going to start by reading the first poem in the collection of poetry by Kristen Merriget, which is called Og når det blir lyst, blir det helt fantastisk. And then I'll read the corresponding translation and a few other translations. And then I'm going to read 3 poems from my manuscript in progress that I'm working on here at USC. Kristen Berget she's a contemporary Norwegian poet. She's published 7 collections of poetry and a novella. And this particular collection deals with eco-poetic themes, as well as like motherhood and grief. She tends to write in a serial fashion, so none of the poems have titles. And so I'm going to kind of just read them through. All right, I'll start with the first poem in Norwegian. Dette landskapet fanger oss med sine lange strå. En sprø jord sprekker opp i juli. Vi har valgt å skrape fingrene mot denne jordskopet. Få bakterier under neglene. Her holder vi oss fast. Kroppene vokser, gir plass til nye kropper. Et system utarbeidet gjennom millioner av år. Ta det ikke personlig, at det krakellerer, at det fungerer. Det er evolusjonen som snakker. En stemme som påstår det uhyrligste. And this is the translation. This landscape snares us with its long stalks. A brittle soil fractures in July. We have chosen to scrape our fingers against this earth's crust, get bacteria under our nails. Here we hold tight. Bodies grow, give way to new bodies. A system wrought over millions of years. Don't take it personally, that it's crackling, that it's working. It is evolution who speaks, a voice that claims monstrosities. The lighthouse lantern flickers asleep. We wake in fits and starts before floating a day and night between sleeping and waking. Here the mountain air is sharp. The ptarmigan startle, wake us at last. Now the sea rises, draws in over the pebbles, leaving behind shells and gravel. Everything that falls out of boats and ships can be washed into new forms, collecting at the forest edge for us to gather tomorrow, if the sea draws back. I do not name earth, I do not name God, I do not name I do not name oil or ointment or the polluted sea, laying the brow against the cobblestone, opening the palms up to the air, filling the lungs with dust and fluid, expecting one more heat that rages through the body. The child I name, flame and ash. Evening comes with a new moon. Still too weak to light us up, we look out across the sea, dark as fresh plowed earth. No sound was heard when they held the cold stethoscope against her chest. The lungs were full of fluid that wrapped up the sound of the heart. We should hear the sea lapping. We should glow from the inside. I would like to say it is simple to love something frail. Our darkening features, the blood left on the duvet, the specific smell of sleep, our sleeping, fading eyes, how the spine breaks piece by piece with each word spoken. And when the light comes, it will be so fantastic. Thank you. And I'm going to share 3 poems from the manuscript that I'm working on here at USC. And it's essentially an elegiac collection of poems exploring love and loss and the kinds of impossible decisions one must face when dealing with a terminal illness in an American medical system. At God's Hotel, a story is told, a grisly shot. Hunted for 20 years, the bear rose to stand, as if inviting the rifle. In our animal soft skin, you and I stand before nature. I tried to persuade you to consider a transplant. You do not want to harm your body to save it. Is my urging a violence? Let me in. Into the bed, and you roll over, and I roll you back. My arm a rest for your neck. My hands, your hands, deceiving me. Whenever I become I, you become he. So distant now, isn't he, under fluorescent lighting? But I hadn't learned this yet, the eye of your sick bed. I wanted him, not you. His back, his fingers, his radiant hair. My wanting created me, and the birches in the night lured me, with their narrow branches shuttering our hospital window. Forgive me, my lying in my eye. I touch your skin, beside you. Here is the door to becoming you. You sleep while I whisper. Take my body. Eat. Thank you. It feels crazy reading these. Okay, and this is the last poem. If I come to you after an ocean of sleep, I follow a man 4 blocks into a bar, grabbing his arm. His back, his hair, his walk the same. But it's an illusion, my thinking you still have hands when you were always end-staging. Leaving the body, you once said, is the becoming. The immunosuppressants you stopped taking. The arteriovenous fistula falling to the tiled hospital floor. In the leaving, you gave me up too. But I'm here in this dialogue. Does it comfort you? Do you dream of my small gestures as I do yours? Before our marriage, you said, a fear of death is a fear of living. Your belief about death, a decade ahead of me, or 2 millennia behind. So the words became lithe or leth or drive. I still thought love meant claim and desire. a want and a giving of what's wanted. After the transplant, you had a vision of my face on St. Teresa's heart. Yes, at the sight of the piercing. You, lifting my pain back like the seraph's arrow. Is this how love bends toward fire? Thank you.
Oh my God, that was gorgeous. Wild. I can't get enough of Kathleen's poems. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Amazing. That last line, I'm gonna be like falling asleep thinking about that, I think. Anyway, yeah, perfect. So next up we have Douglas Manuel, who I'm so happy to meet tonight. Thanks for being here. Douglas Manuel was born in Anderson, Indiana, and now resides in Long Beach, California. He got a BA in with like an army of students here too, which is so cool. They love you. He received a BA in creative writing from Arizona State and an MFA in poetry from Butler University and a PhD in English literature and creative writing from USC. He is the author of... Yeah, we love USC, it's true. He is the author of 2 collections of poetry, Testify, which came out in 2017, and Trouble Funk, which came out in 2023. His poems and essays can be found in numerous literary journals, magazines, and websites, most recently Plowshares and the LA Review of Books. He's traveled to Egypt and Eritrea with the University of Iowa's International Writing Program. A recipient of the Dana Gioia Poetry Award and a fellowship from the Borchardt Foundation Center on Literary Arts. He is an assistant professor of English at Whittier College and teaches at Spalding University's Low Res MFA. All right, Douglas.
Well, first things first, I have to start a timer because I talk too damn much, so I got to make sure that I don't disrespect the space. But yeah, no, I'm so happy to be here. I just want to shout out Whittier one more time. Can my students make some noise? We up in here? Yeah. We travel, we up in here. Also, I want to thank Matthew, thank Liz, thank you so much and honestly, so blessed to read with y'all, like so intimidated, so odd, so many bars, like just so dope. Also, I want to shout out David and Anna for being here. I think so many of our works wouldn't be the same without them, so can we please clap for David and Anna as well? I know both of my books wouldn't be possible without either one of them. My students will attest that I wear all black, and that might be because of David, where I'm just biting his style. And I find myself wishing that I was full of aphorisms like he is, and finds myself, sometimes quoting him too often. It's hard to figure out what to read tonight. It really is. I think that I'm going to do a little bit of a tour, read maybe 1 or 2 from Testify, maybe 2 from Trouble Funk, and then maybe some new stuff, and then maybe some stuff from the new from the book Dandelions that'll be out probably in 27 or 28, depending on how production goes. So that's the tour. So I think we'll start with Testify. Where do we want to go? I think that we'll that's what we'll do. All right. All you need to know about this is I'm named after my daddy, and my dad got the D's to come to Little Anderson, Indiana, because he was moving so much weight. This one's called I'm My Father's Name. I'm the tangled Christmas lights he cursed, the logs he split for $6 an hour, his thunderbird and or the gnats haloing his bottle's lips. I'm the heel of the platforms he wore in 72, the cake cutter afro pick he split that white boy's wig with, the glass dick he smokes crack from. I'm the perm kit, the false teeth bubbling in the cup on the nightstand as he sleeps, the record collection he sold for crack. I'm the luggage his eyes carry. The pride seeped out of his lips when death stood on his chest and left for a future visit. I'm the smell of his breath. Menthol cigarettes, tooth rot, and biblical thoughts. I'm each purple scar on his face. The dance hall he never got to open, the hamburgers he smuggled to TV night in prison. I'm the fire in his voice when he told his stepdad, if you hit me again, we're going to war. I'm the sawed-off he shot into the front porch, the Dawn dishwashing liquid he showered with, the latex glove he used to pull out his shit when he was constipated. I am Little Douglas. I am Locust Street, his street, the block he made pop with junkies. I am the little boy on the corner waiting to yell police. So I got a kiddo now, and that's wild. It feels fake. So yeah, no, I just remember like when that felt like just something that would never be a good idea. And now it's just something that is the thing. I think I'll take it back. Shout out to Cullen. Shout out to my SO, my significant other, my wife Kirsten, who I call Kay. I have a couple poems from this book that feel like they have kind of legs and end up places. So this is one of those. And so this was about Cullen before I knew who Cullen would be. So this one's called Heading Down. And about America too, don't worry. We shouldn't raise mixed babies in the South, Kay says as I drive up the crest of another hill on our way into Kentucky. The South, where humidity leaves a sweat mustache, where a truck with a Confederate flag painted on the back windshield skitters off in front of us. In its bed, avoiding our eyes, a boy with blonde hair split down the middle, like a Bible left open to the book of songs. His shirtless, sunlit skin drapes a thin coat for his bones, his clavicles sharp. I want to know who's driving this raggedy truck. I want the boy to look at us. I want to spray paint a black fist over that flag. I want the truck to find its way into a ravine. I want to. Stepping on the gas, I pass the truck. Kay and I turn our heads. The boy smiles and waves. The man driving doesn't. Keeps his eyes on the road. And Kay turns red as she turns her fingers into fists. And me, with nothing left to do, I stare at the whites of her eyes. Thank y'all, appreciate it. So Trouble Funk is a different kind of jam. My dad was a DJ in the late 70s and early 80s. He recently transitioned last year, which was kind of a crazy thing. Makes all these poems kind of hit different. I have a cousin who talks about that and was like, oh yeah, how does it feel to read those poems now? And yeah, it's mad different. My dad did a 16-year bid when I was young, so he was gone most of my life. And most of my adult life, we kind of tried to figure out, practice a lot of thick love practices, talked about a lot of sports and such to keep the conversation going. But he always respected what I did with writing and everything. So we would have all these conversations. My mother died when I was 8, so a lot of my work is trying to figure out her and who she is. I can't remember her voice, and that really bothers me. And so most of the time I saw them be like really bad to each other. So Trouble Funk was me trying to find them and find their love and find their love being pretty. When I saw it be bad in so many ways. And so, yeah, a lot of these were just from conversations with my dad, and whenever I would talk to him, he would always have a song to kind of accompany whatever story he was telling. So I decided to name each one of the poems after a song he liked to spin. Then I'm going to say a year after the title of the poem, and that's not the year the song came out, that's the year of the narrative action of the piece. I think I'll read just like maybe 2 or 3 of these, more like 2 looking at the clock, and then I'll read a new one. Again, I want to respect y'all. I mean, I got to get home. I'm a little tired already. I didn't start turning into a pumpkin, I ain't going to lie. Used to be this was a time to like where we first start drinking, and now this is a time when I go to sleep, so that's kind of whack. But it is what it is. Here we go. This one's called Let's Get Small. And so what I always say is I don't really say what the who wrote the song. If you know, you know. And if you don't, you can find out. Here we go. Let's Get Small, 1986. Same scream since the night before. She locks herself in the bathroom. He holds up the bathroom door with his back. Today's her birthday. Another job gone, the song of another woman all over his lips, caught. She could taste it. She screams, he screams, they scream. They scream, he screams, she screams. She screams, he screams, they scream. The same scream they began with. The same scream they'll end with, but really it's older than that, deeper than that, and oh, so very black. The same scream since the Middle Passage, since slavery, since Reconstruction, since Jim Crow, since the Great Migration, since redlining, since civil rights. So many screams slicing love. Music, the stitches. Forgiveness inside a drum. He walks to the record player, puts on their song, the times 4/4, hard on the downbeats, staccato. Something to dance to, something to survive through, something to die to. The bathroom door sighs open, nothing but a mouth full of silence. So I think we got time for two more. So I'll read one more from Trouble Funk, and then we'll get out of here with a new poem, maybe one of the ones from Plowshares. So we'll do that, and then, yeah, we'll hear some more awesome poems, and I'll go to sleep. Well, actually drive to Long Beach. Hopefully I won't go to sleep on the way. All right, shout out. Mothership Connection, 1975. Before DJ Scratch, the breakdown was all drum fill, hand clap, bass slap, guitar well. Talk over the track, not yet rap, yet always rap. Is funk, is rock, is blues, is jazz, is ragtime, is work song. In short, is black. Always black on both sides, all the way down. Black on black on black on black on black on black on black. Same scream sense. He rests acid on her tongue. You sure it's okay? She asks. Lies sleep on the tip of his tongue, always and forever. Don't wake them, she must never. Bell-bottoms crowning platform shoes. The groove moves Denise and Damon, dons the crown as God. Late afternoons turns to evenings, moonlit, turns to the bedroom, turns to them in dawn, wet from sweat, the same bed, the same breath, each body on its own riff, ponds of acid trip, ponds of music, ponds of forget, but not for the first time, because this won't be the last. A whole summer they tumbled through a sonic drug buzz. He spins, she assembly lines, a Midwest song, a story of factories and dance halls. We're hiring, she says, if you ever want a real job. So this will be the last one. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for the opportunity. Honestly, all y'all blessed the mic so hard. It's kind of crazy to be here. Shout out to Whittier. We out in here. They came far, yo. They came all the way from Whittier. So thank y'all so much, students. Thank y'all. I told y'all it'd be worth it. I told y'all they'd be dope. I told y'all the poets would be dope. I promise. And I also gave 10 extra credit points. And I can only count to 100, so you already know. That's like a 10th of their grade. I told them. So yeah, that's the way you get people to come. So yeah, we've been talking a lot about family relations. My brother's 12 years older than me. And yeah, I wanted to be my brother for a long time. He's left-handed, so much so that I try to teach myself to write left-handed. Played basketball left-handed. But we don't speak anymore, and we haven't for many years. And my brother, like my father, fell victim to the crack epidemic in America. And I like to use that language of fell victim because at the time we didn't say that. We didn't afford the kind of empathy that we do to people with opioid addictions and such. It wasn't that kind of language. People were just fucking felons and thrown away and forgotten about. So I like to say the quiet thing out loud when I have the opportunity. But yeah, so this one's pretty on the nose, but it's called I Haven't Heard My Brother's Voice in 10 Years. It's in 3 parts. Sullied in braids, brother, call me my true name. I remember so much strewn of cross this ocean which where we sleep, not sleep, but stay so far away from each other, so unlike the times when it was you and me and your afro and bass music and Rakim. I say winter, brother. Here I am, looking, I wasn't looking to mark this silence with your glowed halo, but I remember, brother, I remember candlelights, you, my brother, being so much of what I wanted to be. Lefty, you, my brother, what are you called now? Part 2. Again robed in royal blue, back to back, brothers, black brothers, back to back, just like you told me to go back to Africa. I went, brother, and I couldn't find you. The other brother's not there. The brother is peering up as if praying. I don't pray anymore, but you used to pray. You told me that I should join the Nation of Islam, but I was not ready. I will not pray. I will not drop to my knees, brother, because I've been clothed in wound and I don't know how to live without. I don't know how to cleanse with salt because forgetting is a luxury that we can't afford. Us too rich and lost. Too rich and lost, brother. We can't afford it. Wear gold. Chant in unison. My brother, my brother, my brother. Marvin said, my brother. I say, my brother, where are you? The eye of loss, nothing more than a needle. Why not forget? Why not let light ripple across the crown of your head? Because, brother, I look for you in my dreams, but I will not call you.
Whew. Damn, you guys are really doing it. I don't know. This is crazy. Thank you so much, Doug. That was incredible. And we have Nathan Xavier Osorio last, but before that, because we'll just wrap up after that, so I'll just make a couple final comments. Thank you, Ivan, for putting all this together. Thank you, Beyond Baroque. This is like the best reading space ever. So it's cool to be here. And not something I take for granted, not something I think any of us take for granted, truly. So thank you. And I think we're going to the Brig after, which is like kind of around the corner, so we can just meet out there. But thank you all for being here too. It's been really cool. I like don't want it to be over. I could just like keep chatting up here forever. But let's hear from Nathan, and then we'll keep hanging out. Nathan Xavier Osorio. His debut collection of poetry, Querida, University of Pittsburgh Press, won the 2024 Agnes Lynch Star at Poetry Prize, selected by Sharon McCallum. He is the author of The Last Town Before the Mojave, selected by Oliver de la Paz as a recipient of the Poetry Society of America's 2021 Chapbook Fellowship. I need to take a breath. These bios are crazy, you guys. He received... I'm like, damn, I'm like getting winded. He received his PhD in literature from the University of California, Santa Cruz in literature and holds an MFA in poetry and literary translation from Columbia. He was selected as a Chancellor's Postdoctoral Fellow at UC Irvine, and his work has appeared in Bomb, Gulf Coast, The Rumpus, Boston Review, the Notre Dame Review, The Slowdown, and elsewhere. He is the 2025 Dartmouth Poet in Residence. Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool. And an assistant professor of creative writing at Texas Tech. So let's give it up for Nathan, and thank you all for reading again.
Yes, gratitude to everyone. So I'm going to get right into it. This first poem is called Procession of Flies. The tongue remembers all kinds of things, like your name and the blood I wring out from it. I lift the lid to find the sow's head, its gaping mouth a cave where a muscle had been pulled from its roots. It says, "No, primo, you've got it all wrong. A butcher's fever isn't for gold, but for the long hours in darkness. I fish out the bougainvillea petals from the aqueduct and let the casinos sip away into daylight. When we see the cassette's black ribbon and how it strangles the roadside shrine, you ask, Hijo, do you think I could have been someone? Your body tumbling miles down the road." Yeah, I mean, I'm reading from a collection which just this month we celebrated its 1-year anniversary. So yeah, it's been a year kind of reading from this collection, which is really this fixation on the San Fernando Valley, Silmar, where I'm from, my family, and all the histories they brought with them when they migrated here just a generation ago. So today I've just been yucking it up with my brother and sister-in-law, and I'm gonna put him on the spot only because he's a Whittier alum, and Whittier's in the house. So, I mean, so this is an abecedarian dedicated to him. This is called Desire Paths, and we were latchkey kids, so. Abi, I want to apologize for all the times I hurt you. But before my enumeration of furniture suplexes, of cruel hands gripping your nape, of hexes to your dinner plate, do you remember how you disappear, exiting perhaps through the carless garage to hike the full-winged forest you swore was hidden beyond the golden fringe of the chaparral? I didn't believe you then. How could a place so far be so close? Even now, my instinct is to doubt that my little brother trailblazed and jackrabbited through the brush alone. It makes me dizzy knowing full well the puma's hiss and the welts from the low-laying poison oak. You braved the odd hour of moonrise over freeways and sought out the Hercules Nike missile silos that honeycomb the mountains. Ñoñoso is what they called me for shuddering at the ofrenda you found in the clearing and for not plundering the mine shafts with you or spelunking in quarries emptied by drought. You were just my little rusted figurine of Indiana Jones, bent out of shape and severe about your hustle. You vanished into the fever of a titanic quest for a place that would bring us together. An underworld you mapped by flashlight on our closet ceiling one velvet latchkey night when the open maw wolves, not really wolves, but coyotes approached, making us wish we were X-Men and not boys. All we could do was whimper, and yip in response to their hypnotic panting as they zeroed in on why we wandered into their realm. So for my last poem, I'm going to read something new. This past June, I spent it out in Franconia, New Hampshire, which is the Northeast, a place I'm very unfamiliar with, at the Frost House. And it was in June, and I was just surrounded by this brilliance, this nature, vivid and almost abrasive. And it was during the start of this brutal campaign of abductions in my home city, which I know you've all bared witness to. So this poem is about that, alongside some of the authors I was surrounded by in spirit. My city under siege by secret police, my heart breaks in Franconia, New Hampshire, a study of On the Porch at the Frost Place, Franconia, New Hampshire, by William Matthews. So here we were, not quite standing so much as recovering on the porch's wicker couch or inside the living room, lock-eyed with the stone maw of the hearth and stirring awake after a night of death, rolling through sweat in the corner room of the farmhouse. The air-conditioned sanctuary, no match for the nocturnal exhale of heat through timber frame and single-pane window, yet we would all eventually emerge from this place like the whistle pig, beneath the barn, groping through the June darkness of the imagination, searching for the parts needed to machine together that elusive sprite of internal music. William urges us to be fierce against ourselves, to see past the disguises of Frost's natural world, this emerald refuge he fled into from hay fever and Spanish flu. How familiar, despite a century. But Bill, if I may, I must admit that I'm finished with fierceness and prefer the faint effervescence of mist arcing her back over Artist's Bluff until she disappears. I won't pretend to have known the name for the tamarack that frames our view into the valley, now grown a full 20 feet more since you last saw them, but they remind me of the pine in the northeast of LA, singed by cycles of wildfire, unlike Frost's children who saw dragons slip out from the notch. As a young boy, I didn't see a serpent spark the chaparral or fan the glow of fire front, which might have soothed the sight of the police interceptor parked in front of my home like a lighthouse, cutting through the ash-red afternoon. No wonder when I wake up on my first morning in Franconia to the footage of another Ford Explorer punching its cattle guard into the gut of a woman howling, "Let him go." As she's pulled under, I can feel the small ember of my heart flicker. No wonder I can still see that same Explorer rev its engine until it breaks free from the ring of grad students demanding the end of occupation, the Explorer fishtailing out from underneath the live oak and over the university lawn, shredding grass in its wake. No wonder when the young man stepped out at our porch doorstep last night on his bike ride from Maine to New York to let me know that the one book he brought on his journey was New Hampshire, I lied to him, insisting, "I wish I could let you in," as if I hadn't seen my fair share of vampire flicks and didn't know better than to be caught dead. So maybe I'm not living up to the promise of this place. When I run out to the porch to catch a torrent of rain, break through the heat dome and lift my arms in disbelief, disturbing the paper wasp that promptly stings my forearm as if to urge me not to be so soft, or to watch the barn orb's weaver's exoskeleton twirling upon a lace of silk in the eaves, and remember the phone call with Papi wherein he tells me that in the break room a friend insists, "If you don't see me tomorrow, it's because of ice," which is an admission of what you might call summoning the wrath or ferocity to accept the thing barreling at you in disguise. On this porch, it can feel like even the cedar waxwing that perches atop summer's copper lilac has turned its back on me. Oh, these swift and aching summers, like my morning jogs further and further into country, past stone walls draped in velvet moss, to the racket of leaves dominoed into applause by first heard then felt wind, past the stable across the airport adorned with the mowed runway and vintage biplanes. Again, I must admit, I'm not moved by any of it. Not by the mauve spears of Lupin, not the horses donning masks knitted with the 2010 t-shirt quips, especially not the posed artifacts of the gentleman farmer, but only by the mystique of water. Behind the porch there is a trail, and to begin to live with my fear of the footage of wreckage and of living in nature alone, I take a mug of whiskey a quarter mile into the forest, where I heard what at first I thought was a growl but became a burble from within the tapestry of rot and lady ferns, the gushing of spring I could not see so much as feel beneath the riot of green. By the time I'm back at the porch, whiskey bravery simmers to doubt, and I step over the bramble the unrelenting robin labors each day to the rafters for her nest, and before the last light is shut away by the closing lid of the sun, I wonder if we will be around long enough to watch the daylilies bloom.